Hey guys, welcome to the second part of this video. If you didn't watch the first part before, go and check it out. I continue this project by installing the hinges. I place the hinges on the door and trace around it. Then I use the router to cut out the mortise and finish up the corners with a chisel. How many hinges should a door have? Well, doors needs at least 3 hinges. In this case, I'm installing 4 of them. Next, I sand the door with my orbital sander and make sure to remove all the mill marks to have a smooth result before staining it. This process takes a little bit of time cause we remove flaws such dents and gouges that may have been introduced in handling. After that nice and smooth sanding, I applied a walnut oil based stain. It can be applied either with a brush or a rag, but a rag gives more control. When working with oil-based stains, there will be fumes, so make sure to always use a mask and work in a well-ventilated area. I'm applying a full wet coat of polyurethane primer on one side of the door and the door jamb. I flip the door over and spray the other side. Then use a high-grit sandpaper to sand lightly. Sanding after applying primer will help to keep the surface as smooth and flat as possible, eliminating spray marks or extra little blobs. Then just clean it up and apply the second coat of polyurethane primer. I'm going to set up the door knob hole. Transfer the same height from other doors in your house, then mark 6 cm from the edge of the door. Use a drill with a 2 1/8 hole saw to bore a hole through the door. Once the center bit is through the door, stop, bring the hole saw the other side of the door and finish the bore. I use my chisel to remove some wood on the strip to fit the front plate into it. Then I place the latch center and use a 7/8 hole saw to bore through the edge of the door to create an area for the latch. I place the latch plate and draw an outline. Then I use my router and chisel to remove the wood inside the outline. Sit the latch plate into the edge to make sure it fits properly. I continue by mounting the mirror. I apply silicone sealant and mount the mirror against the door. Then push gently against the glass to spread the silicone and improve the bond. Next, I glue up the strips for holding the mirror. I use some brad nails to attach them. I add wood filler to the nail holes and apply a stain to it. I'm covering the mirror using paper and tape so it won't be affected when I continue with the finishing. I apply the last coat of primer, then repeat that smooth sanding. After those 2 coats of primer, it's the moment to apply the polyurethane varnish, which gives to the door a really shiny finish, but we can choose a matte finish if we want it. Then let it dry for at least 24 hours before handling. I remove the covering paper and move forward with the installation of the door. What I do first is to assemble the door jamb using some screws on the top, then move it to the door space. For attaching the door to the concrete, I make a hole, then I insert a wooden dowel into it and screw at the end. Make sure the jamb is on level and having the right measures to fit the door with a little slack on the sides. Continue attaching the jamb using 3 or 4 screws on each side. Next, I install the hinges to the door. I drill the pilot holes first, then gently drive the screws in so that you don't force them out of place. The following step is to connect the door to the jamb. Hold the door in place using blocks under the bottom to support it. I attach 2 hinges first and check if the door works properly. Then I finish installing the remaining hinges. Examine the installation for mistakes. Check if the door have the same space around the jamb. I continue by inserting the latch through the door hole so the flat side of the latch is facing the door jamb. Then secure the latch into the door with the screws. Insert this half of the doorknob in first, placing the peg through the latch mechanism. Align the screw holes and attach the back plate from the interior side of the door. The next step is to place the other plate and the interior knob. Test it to make sure everything is installed correctly. I continue by making the hole for the latch in the door jamb and trace out where the strike plate is going to be. Then I use my router and chisel to make the mortise for the strike plate. I stain the hole and screw the plate in place. Door latches perfectly. The next what I do is installing the doorstop. I use a 45 degrees angle cut and cut 2 long pieces for the sides and a short one for the top. I attach them with brad nails. Next, install the door casing using the same 45 degrees angle cut to join the corners. I need to make a little bit of room where the strike plate is. I make the cut with the jigsaw, then I attach the trim to the jamb with brad nails. Door casing are both decorative and utilitarian, enhancing the look of the door while also concealing the transition between the wall and the jamb. There is a rustic part in the bottom of the door that I want to complement with this board. I drill the holes, then insert the dowels and attach the board with 2 screws. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next project.